Hello, folks. So I obviously can't see you, so I'm just going to kind of go through the presentation and speak to my best ability, and then certainly we'll have questions at the end. I also just want to, before I start, I just want to acknowledge Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of the land. I'm on Gadigal land, and I just want to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I also, before I get into the presentation, I just want to just be clear that I'm coming from lived experience as someone who at one point identified bisexual and then became a gay man, came into my own right. And so the LGBTQIA, it's a mouthful, is a very varied community. There's so many peoples and identities that I can't represent all of them. I can certainly give you an insight, and hopefully we can kind of come to a bit of understanding about what I'm going to refer to as the rainbow community. So my title, I thought I'd use a bit of Bosnian, and I just said Priča jednog Bosanca u Australiji, which is the story of one Bosnian in Australia, because I am just being a gay man is just one part of me, not all of me. So I'm a person, as to say. So let's get into it. Let's see if I got this right. There we go. So I just wanted to also make a quick reference to Samson. Thanks, Jorge, for mentioning them. It's a great little organization. They work with, there's only about 15 of us. We're very small. We work with male survivors of childhood sexual assault. We're based in New South Wales, in Parramatta. And we help guys across New South Wales and sometimes across Australia. And we work with folks who are refugees and asylum seekers, so we can assist them as well. What I liked about Samson, and I want to share through this presentation, is just a bit about their vision and purpose, but also very importantly about their values, which is hope, dignity, connection, and community. These values, when I first found out about Samson, it's something that completely resonates with me. As a person, as a professional. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that a little bit with you about Samson. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about my journey. We left Bosnia due to the war, and we, as refugees, we moved to Austria, and we stayed in camps there for about a year until the UN and so on made contact with some relatives that we had in Australia. So we arrived in Australia in 1993. I was 12 years old, and I've got two sisters and my parents. And yes, Jorge is right. We were on TV because, we were first refugees coming off the plane, all pasty white and feeling very disoriented in this new country. So I grew up in Wollongong, the Gong, for those that might know it. And through some negotiation, I think through my parents, we got introduced to Starts. That's how I know about Starts. And we, myself and my sisters at one point attended their camps for refugees. And it was a fantastic experience, great bonding opportunity, and just, it was also really nice to connect with other Bosnians, other children that had gone through the same thing. We understood each other. We formed great friendships. It was also, of course, great to get away from the parents for those weekends. So I went on to study Bachelor of Social Work in Albury-Wodonga. So when I was 18, I was like, I need to get away from my family and I need to live my own life. So if people look at a map where Wollongong is and where Albury-Wodonga is, it's about 5 to 6 hours drive, and I just needed to start my own living there. So I studied there, then I moved to Melbourne, where I met my first boyfriend, and I lived there for about 5-6 years. That's where I started child protection work. Eventually, I thought I need to go on an adventure. So I went to the UK. It was meant to be 1 year, and ended up being 8. because I met my long-term partner there, and that was quite beautiful. Eventually, the two of us returned to live in Australia in 2015. Unfortunately, we separated once we got here after a while. However, over time, life's very interesting, because during the pandemic, my best friend of about 15 years and I got together, and now we're getting married in August. So happy days. This is, I was trying to think about this presentation about times I remember when I was coming out and things that stuck in my mind. And this was some things that stuck in my mind, so I'll share them with you. When I first was coming out, I shared very nervously, it was a friend of mine, Joe, and she was in the middle of making some sandwiches, and we were still at uni at her house, and I came out and said, "Joe, I think I'm gay," and she turned to me and said, "Do you want some cheese in your sandwich?" So she made it super easy. And I just remembered that moment, and I thought, oh, wow, here I was carrying all this weight of coming out, and she just made it super easy for me. I came out to my mother as bisexual while I was playing cards. So she was not quite sure what to think about that, but it was the easiest thing I could think to say to her, because I couldn't say the word gay. I could only say maybe bisexual. And at that time, I considered it, and I was also with men and women. And I thought to myself, I can make this work. So it seemed easy at the time. It was only when I moved to Melbourne and I actually met a gay friend that I realized, oh, wow, this is me. This is my full self-acceptance. I totally get it. And I get my people, and I made friends, and I made allies, and so on. And that was kind of, so I just thought I'd share with you those three moments I just reflected on, because they're very silly sometimes, and I can laugh about them now. But at the time, I had the shakes. I was nervous. I thought about it for days. I had a lot of internal turmoil. I should say, it's not trauma, turmoil, because I was confused and I didn't know how to approach this. And I was met with some good opportunities there. Yes, there is challenges with the family. There was some moments, and I'll share that in a moment when I go to the next slide. But yeah, just thought I'd share those three moments in my life when I was coming out. So the Bosnian community. What does it mean being gay in a community? Probably the same thing that most you folks know. For most of us that come from ethnic communities, being from the rainbow community, I'm going to refer to it as, is seen as bad, evil, disgusting. And it's not talked about. It's taboo. I can recall a moment of driving to Sydney when I was quite young with my father, and him seeing two men holding hands, and he made a point to refer to them as disgusting. And I always remember that, and I was confused, because I thought, these guys are just minding their own business. They're walking there, but that's the perception that you see, and that's the perception that was fed to me as a young kid. Little did he know at that time, or did he know? I'm not sure. So being open about your sexuality means that you are bringing punishment and banishment to yourself and the whole family. So it's easy, as again, our people, everyone loves a good gossip. So people love to talk behind your back. You got something to say. Our communities are close together. So, Afghanis hang out with Afghanis, Bosnians with Bosnians, and so on and so on. So, people's business, what's going on. And and although my parents and family often sheltered me from these kind of rumors and conversations, I know that they experienced some backlash from the way I was, from me coming out. And I know that they don't talk to some people anymore because of that disconnect. And I know that within my own family, there's been challenges. my grandparents are very traditional Muslim. You know, they pray 5 times a day and so on. So I know that there's always been that, you know, it's very much under the carpet, as you would say, and people don't talk about it. It's not discussed. Even though now at 42, I'm very open and public about it, they're still not discussed. Although I will say that my grandparents have stopped asking me how my girlfriends, or do I have any girlfriends. So I think they're well aware. So how does this impact on folks that are coming out from the rainbow community? It can be pretty devastating, because it can breed isolation, loneliness, constant fear, you know, and that living in fear is not good, because your cortisol levels, you are constantly overthinking and thinking negative thoughts. So there's this uncertainty, there's sadness, there's grief and loss, you know, loss from your family, because are you different? There's that re-traumatization, because it's all happening again. I don't fit in. I don't know what to do, and you know, and there's no help. There's no, you know, so there's a loss of self, loss of identity, and I just thought I'd share a little bit of that. And at some points through my life, I have experienced all of these, because it is a journey, and you are fearful of what others will think. We spend our life thinking, how do I fit in? How do I be normal? And I can tell you now, the only normal thing in life is the normal setting on your washing machine. What can this lead into is some clinical implications. It can lead into depression, self-harming behaviors, including drugs and alcohol, suicidality, anger, and mental health issues like clinical depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress response. I should put that instead of disorder. These are things, just, you know, as a professional, as a social worker, I've seen this in my current work, and I've seen this over my history of my profession, because folks still struggle with coming out, and they struggle with managing with their families and managing the family's expectations, and how to make things work, how to survive in that circumstance. I get a lot of this. I've also was a telephone counsellor for Q Life, and often the phone calls would be folks coming in and talking about all of these issues, because they felt really oppressed and sad and challenged by their circumstances and with their family. I pulled up some figures, because this is a clinical masterclass, so I just thought I'd share this with you. And this is just coming from the LGBTQI plus Health Australia 2021 statistics. I've put a link at the end of the slides in our reference. I just thought I'd refer to it very quickly to say that, you know, that it's in terms of suicidal ideation, LGBTQI plus folks are 5 times more likely to experience suicidal ideation. They're 18 times more likely to consider attempting suicide. Bisexual people 6 times more likely, and people with intersex variation 5 times more likely. Self-harm, again, so I may have mentioned alcohol and drugs abuse, but there can be all kinds of other self-harm, which could be even cutting or other methods of self-harm, pill taking and so on, because you're trying to suppress who you are, and you're trying to suppress and stop the pain. So you may take all kinds of measures to try and address that. And I just thought that there's the stats there that LGBTQIA plus folks are 4 times likely to engage in self-injury. Transgender folks 6.5 times more likely, and intersex folks 3 times more likely. And yeah, so it's quite a lot. And I know my colleague Grace will have a few more figures through her example. So I'm going to move to the next slide and just pause for a second, because those are quite heavy things. And I just wanted to just come back a little bit to what I wanted to say is that nobody can make you happy until you're happy with yourself. And what does that mean? I'm talking about self-acceptance. I think when those three things that I listed at the beginning of my presentation about coming out, those were my journeys of self-acceptance, self-discovery, self-realization, because I had to make those, and that's why I remember them as such good memories, because those are the things that helped me build my journey and helped me build myself, because only then could I make the right choices, take the right chances, and make the changes that I need to make. So I just thought I'd share that with you and just pause and breathe for a moment, because even as someone who's a social worker, and I'm sure there's professionals maybe in this webinar, one of the things that we'd say is, you have to put on your like in an aeroplane, you have to put on your mask first before you can help others. So how could I become a social worker unless I didn't know who I am and believe in myself? So that I say that goes in life. If you want to make things happen, you got to get to know yourself first, and that self-acceptance and is really powerful and important. And it's a journey. I'm not saying you're going to flip and make it happen, but sometimes it is as easy as that. It does. Sometimes it is just saying, coming out to that one friend, or while your hands are sweating, telling your mother over a card game, something. Those little things do matter, because they made a world of difference for me. So I'm just moving in next into some, I'm just going to move my screen, sorry, into some personal strategies and intervention ideas. Again, I'm sharing this with you because this is just what's worked for me, and I'm sharing from a personal view. Many folks will have other ideas and professionals will have other thoughts. So I just hope you'll bear with me. I'm just going to give you some flavor of what I think has worked for myself. And I'll start with the first one. Living in Australia is pretty damn amazing. There's a lot of services, there's a lot of support, much more than the places where we've come from. If I look at Bosnia, is there support there? I wouldn't even know. Maybe now, 5-10 years ago, unlikely. So I'm very proud of organizations like STARTS, and there's ACON and Q Life and Bobby Goldsmith Foundation and others that are out there which are safe. Even STARTS, Samson, where I work, is a safe space. It's a safe space to start things like counseling, which can be for yourself. We're very lucky under Medicare at the moment. All of us can access up to 20 sessions with a counsellor. So anybody in Australian community, which is amazing. Again, and also I want to mention that from counselling, it can progress to group work. So there are some organizations that do group work. What worked for me really well is finding that rainbow community friend that I could really connect with, and from then I found more friends, and I found allies, so that I could be me. I mentioned in there limiting negative online social media and apps, because it's very easy. It's very easy to hop online and find negative social media stories, because that's what sells. The apps can be really challenging, because you need to, if you are going to go into apps, there's judgment there. So how do you navigate that? It's just being really aware that these things can have a negative impact. So what do you do? Is there other things that you can do? Yes, there is. So what I love are things like developing my own knowledge, which is, I love podcasts, I love training. We're doing this, which is great. Exercise, I probably exercise 4, maybe 5 times a week, because it's helped my mental health. It's helped me focus to what I want to do. Over my lifetime, I've also gotten engaged into mindfulness and meditation, that they're two separate things. And if you read up on both of them separately, because it's really important, because people confuse that they might be the same thing. In fact, you can be mindful about a lot of things, which includes just daily breathing, like taking 10 deep breaths before you enter a room, or even before you enter a conversation, is really powerful, because it really helps us center us. Because volunteering, I volunteer, put myself out there every 12 months. I'll volunteer for one organization and just try my best to support that in the community. Again, I only do that when I am in a really good space, again, putting that mask on, and I feel like I can help others and I want to help others. And travel, it's been invaluable to travel, to see the world, to engage with other people, to get a flavor that you're not alone as well, which is really helpful. What's my message to refugee families and community? Look, and I've said this openly to my family as well. We are so lucky that we have survived, and we had a chance for a new life. Your child's orientation is not all of them. It's a huge and big part of their life, of course, but there's so much more to know if you ask. Support such as counseling is available to learn more about yourself, about your emotions, your feelings, what matters to you. It's absolutely invaluable, and it's helped my parents, it's helped myself, it's helped my family at times of need. World's always changing, and there's different places. It's a very different place from when you, as a parent, you might have grown up. So we have to change in order to grow. And in the end, most importantly, love is all you need. I've often heard other folks in counseling say that my parents still tell me they love me, but they judge me. They don't want me to behave like this way. If you love someone, you love them for who they are. You don't then just pick and choose what you love about it. You need to love the person, and you need to let them make those choices and grow for themselves. That's really important. I'm just coming to a close with my presentation, and I just want to, Nick, sometimes I screenshot things that inspire me, and this is one of the things that I screenshotted before this presentation just yesterday. And I was giving respect to Positive Shift from Instagram. It just says, of course you'll make mistakes, but the biggest one will be not to try. And it's just something to live by. Yeah, this is my contact details. I think the slides will be included at the end of the presentation, and I've also just included the link to the stats and just some helplines and websites that I'm sure possibly Stats already has. But I just thought I'd share that with you. So thank you very much.